Instead, they rise or fall based on how the algorithm ranks engagement, repetition, trendability, virality, regardless of the artistic value. This insight echoes that many indie artists have felt for a long time. You can pour your heart and soul into a track and still get buried in the algorithm if the algorithm doesn't approve your track or doesn't gain any momentum. And so I just thought it was dope that Lizzo, who's a multi-Grammy award winning, multi-platinum artist, is facing the same challenges that we as independents face. And it's crazy because I personally think there's truth to that. That the algorithm's like the new gatekeeper. The algorithm determines what music is pushed, who sees it, how often they see it, if it goes viral, if there's trendability around it, if it gets noticed. All right, they got that thing is like we'll push it out to 10 people, and then if 10 people engage with it, we'll push it out to 100. Then if 100 engage with it, we'll push it out more and more. But if 10 people only see it and they never really, it's probably going to stop right at that moment, and it may not go any further than that.
So when I heard her make the statement, it felt like it was like a Captain Obvious type thing. It was kind of like she was saying maybe this is her first time experiencing it. But those of us, any artists, marketing and consulting individuals, we know that this is kind of how the infrastructure has been set up for the last several years. So for her to be saying, oh man, this is how it is now, I kind of was like, what are you talking about? That's how it's been. Not only that, but it was weird to hear it from her because she signed to a label. So the reality is, the true reality is, at the end of the day, that's why you got audio of, what's his name? Thug. Saying Gunna thinks that he had the #1 album his release week, but I paid $55,000 for to make sure that it basically had the streams it needed to be #1 for that week. I mean, for a signed artist to say something about the algorithm, labels still control the algorithm when they want to, because ultimately at the end of the day, the algorithm is controlled by the dollar. Dollars control the algorithm. If you have enough money, in this case, very specifically, $55,000, you could have had the #1 album. If you had $56,000, you could have had the #1 album that week.
Right.
So for her to be saying, oh, it only works if this and that, that's someone else's reality. It's generally not the reality of a signed artist. Now, if her label didn't put that kind of bread up, assuming that based on her individual engagement numbers, kind of like you said, if they put 20,000 on it, the way her fans engage with things, it would grow organically beyond them, planting the bioengineered seed, so to speak.
Right.
And maybe that didn't happen, right? Because even if Thug paid whatever amount of money to ensure that more streams went into Gunna's project, certainly his project did organically have people who like Gunna, who listen to Gunna, who went and listened to
the album.
Right. So in a case where Lizzo didn't get what she thought she was gonna get, maybe they put the money in, but it wasn't. I always say you need money to get in, but you need quality to stay in. And maybe this is her way of saying she didn't hit the number she wanted to hit, but it might have been because the music didn't hit.
It could be.
Maybe the label did spend the right amount of money, but if the music didn't resonate.
Is she still signed?
I thought she was. I hadn't heard her out here doing the independent declaration.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. See, because I'm thinking that
but that's even funnier if she's not, because that means welcome to the reality of the rest of us.
Because that's what I'm thinking. Like, is she making this statement because she's now looking at it from an independent space and she's realizing that these are the things that are barriers to exposure for independent music creators?
She is signed to Atlantic. She is signed to Atlantic and their imprint, Nice Life Recording.
So then does that mean that her imprint, her label, did not put up enough money to trigger the algorithm to send her album out into the masses? Because she mentioned in there, Justin Bieber, Lady Gaga, and all these other people. She said outside of Beyonce. She said all these other people dropped albums, but a lot of times you don't even know that they dropped an album Now, if you're a fan of these individuals, you're probably going to know that they dropped an album.
Yes.
But will the masses of people know?
And that's where the money's got to be spent.
Exactly.
So, for example, if you're Bieber or, because I think I even talked about on the pod, the fact that Bieber had dropped the album, he gave like literally 48 hours notice that he was dropping one. The thing becomes, there's probably a lot of people who still haven't heard it beyond the Yukon single, which is getting a lot of radio push. A lot.
Actually, I haven't even heard.
Yeah,
Swag.
if you listen to
Swag 2, right?
He dropped Swag and Swag 2.
I haven't even listened to either one yet.
So just depending on where you sit algorithmically,
right,
dictates whether or not that would even reach you, even though you may be, I guess fan isn't the right word, but you actually enjoy his music. So I know this project that Lizzo dropped, I haven't heard the whole project, but I know there's a lot of rapping on the project. I know a lot of people love Lizzo's songs. So maybe them songs just didn't.
And that could be.
And so
that could be the case.
Because I actually have only heard pieces of the songs. I haven't heard like it in its entirety. But I think that that's, again, you pay the price for admission, but then once you get in, the work has to be, you got to put in some sweat equity at that point.
Absolutely.
So if the music is banging, then it'll push through, unless the label says, back the truck up again and let's dump some more money into it on the other side, which they have done for some acts. Maybe they didn't feel like they needed to do that for Lizzo, though.
Because she mentioned that now she's going to the avenue of building her own community so that you can, and I think that's something that people are seeing anyway, is the fact that you can't always rely on platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, which we'll get into that, and all of these other things to put your music in front of the people that it needs to be in front of.
Yeah.
You got to start, as independents, you got to start really thinking about, how can I go directly to my
audience,
my supporters in a different way, whether it's through Patreon, a Substack, some type of platform where you can get people to have a membership.
Yeah.
Right. Give them exclusive content, new music, whatever the case, and build that platform so that you don't have to rely on all these other methods to get your music in front of the masses. This is a classic. I think the progenitor of this whole thing was Ryan Leslie. Right. I mean, he had the whole Superphone.
Yeah.
And he still has Superphone, right? And still you could go to his site or to the app, put your information in, and get information directly from.
That's why I say what she was saying was a Captain Obvious moment to me. It was like, welcome to the party. Like, it was like she just
found out.
And then, salute to her to feeling like she had information that she needed to share with other people. Like maybe they didn't know it, but a lot of times those artists who you are truly fans of, like, I go to concerts sometimes at Center Stage or Vinyl, and these are acts I never heard of, and there's 50 to 75 people in the room, and I'm thinking to myself, how the hell do these people even know who this artist is, or that they were even performing?
Yeah.
And so clearly that artist has the attention of those individuals. That is their core audience. So when you start talking about whether something goes viral and you start talking about algorithm, you're talking about things that are outside of your fan base. That's not, algorithm is not driven by a fan. It's driven by somebody who likes something in the moment. They're not a fan of you necessarily, but a fan of whatever that sonic moment is. So she's really talking about two different things. Sure, you can build a community, but I bet she probably already has a pretty entrenched community anyway. But if she's looking at charts expecting to see certain numbers, then yeah, that's going to be based on people outside of your true fan base. And one of the things from the marketing standpoint, I always have a really tough time with artists with is them accepting the fact that independent artists accept the fact that you're probably not the only artist who makes the kind of music that you make. And there is strength in community.